Have you ever experienced something so real that it lingers in your memories, leaving you with more questions than answers? Join me as we unravel a haunting childhood tale filled with shadows, strange entities, and a mysterious intervention that changed everything. It was my 6th birthday, and my party had just ended. We had cake, pizza, and played games. A typical American birthday party. I lived with my mom and her boyfriend, Steve. For my birthday, they got me one of those plastic Fisher-Price playsets. The ones that were about 4 feet tall and had a small slide, small enough to fit in my room. I was extremely excited about this because it was exactly what I wanted, and I was sure it was the greatest invention since sliced bread. The playset was set up right by my door, in front of my bed. Now, before I go into the actual part of the story you want to hear, I need to give you a little bit of background about the house. From what I know, at least to begin with, the house was an old blue colonial house in upstate New York. The house was like every other house in the neighborhood, and since Steve had just gotten a promotion at work, there was constant work being done on the house. Basically, complete remodel. While we lived there, the only thing I didn't like about the house was that you couldn't get into the attic. And for some reason, bats kept getting in there. And at 6 years old, you don't like bats. My mom tucked me into bed after my birthday at around 9 p.m., a little later than usual. I remember waking up a few times that night because I was really excited to use the playset in the morning. I didn't get to play with it much that day because of the assembly. One of the times I woke up, I remember looking at the playset when I saw 2 shadows, a boy and a girl. They looked like they were talking to each other. As a child, I didn't want to be scared, so I rationalized this as the shadows of the trees playing tricks on my mind. That's what my mom would have said. I managed to get back to sleep that night and didn't really think much of it. The next day, my birthday. Being in June, I usually didn't have class. This meant I could spend the day playing with my friends. I didn't think about the shadows I saw the night before at all. I basically forgot what happened until the next night. My usual bedtime was 8 p.m., and my mom was pretty strict on this matter. So, I showered, got dressed, and was in bed. I was lying in bed when I had a strong feeling something was watching me. I looked to the wall between my door and the playset, and the shadows were there again. This time I paid more attention to it. While I was frozen in fear in my bed, the shadow children seemed to be talking, but I still couldn't hear them. It also seemed as if they were looking at each other, but it's hard to sense 3D direction from a 2D shadow. I screamed for my mom, and she ran into my room and turned my light on. At that point, the shadows disappeared. My mom then let me sleep in her bed that night, which she never let me do. She assumed I'd had a nightmare. From then on, when I would look at the wall at night, those shadows would be there. When this would happen, I would call for my mom, and the cycle would repeat. During this time, Steve and my mom would argue a lot. I wasn't sure why, but I know I didn't notice it at first. The house had also gone into some full remodeling, where almost half of the house would always have something being done to it. I wished for school. This was back when school was fun, and all your friends would be there. I hated spending any time in the house and would try to go to my grandma's whenever possible. This cycle repeated for a while, and I'm not really sure what my mom thought about me telling her that ghost shadow people were in my room every night. I begged her to leave the hallway light on every night, hoping that the light would scare away the shadows. She obliged, but the light never did anything, and I would yell for her every night. This continued for a while, but then one night, something changed. Laying in bed, something felt different. I wasn't sure if I had built up some sort of tolerance to the shadow people that were in my room at night, in the same place, doing nothing but silently talking to each other, or if I was just being dumb. That night, I decided I didn't want to wake my mom up. For some reason, I decided I would be brave enough to walk right past the shadows to my mom's room. I think it might be important to remember that whenever my mom would come by, these shadows, they would disappear. I still don't know why. I walked past the shadows, and nothing happened. I was then in the hallway when the light was right above me, and my mom's room was to my left. I remember looking up at the light, and then back at my mom's room, and then back at the light. I did this a few times, and then I remember just staring into the light. I'm not sure why, but I was drawn to it. After looking for the light, for some reason, I decided I didn't want to wake up my mom, which was weird because I never cared before. I went back into bed, and the next thing I remember is sitting in the living room watching TV. There was construction all around me, and plastic covers on the couches, so that none of the drywall or new paint got on them. I remember I was sitting on the floor, and just watching static on the TV. To me, this memory seems like an out-of-body experience, like I wasn't even in control. These memories are like a flash to me, and I have nothing in between. I only have some more memory of being in that house. I was in my room, looking over my window down to the driveway. It was nighttime, and my mom had asked her friend's mother to come over. Her name was Danielle, but everyone called her Dee. I also remember watching her pull out of the driveway and giving my mom a hug. I could hear them for some reason, and this also seemed like an out-of-body experience. I heard Dee say there was a boy and girl spirit in the house, but they weren't the problem. The problem was there was a dark and malicious entity that wanted me. Dee and my mom then proceeded to burn sage in the house. I assumed I went to bed, but when I woke up, I was at my grandma's house, and it was many days after the light incident. I felt fine when I woke up, and I didn't even notice anything different. I often spent the night at my grandma's house. I had my own assumptions about what happened, but I never really talked to my mom about it until I was 16. When I woke up at my mom told me that we were moving out of Steve's house, and they were breaking up, and that I wouldn't be going back. My mom would collect my things. So, as I stated earlier, I spoke to my mom about this in detail when I was older. The memories had bothered me for so long, and I wanted answers. I told my mom the exact story that I've just told you, and my mom gave me a confused look. When I told her about the part with Dee, she told me I wasn't in the house. My mom proceeds to tell me how I became more and more distant as we lived in the house. Then one day, we were eating dinner, and I just passed out head and plate like out of a movie. My mom said I had a high fever and looked ill. My mom's the kind of person who believes in the supernatural, and I think when I passed out, she decided to accept the ghost stories I was telling her weren't in my head. This is when she decides to call Dee, who was known around town as being a psychic. Dee told my mom immediately to get me out of the house, and she would come over. My mom drove me to my grandma's and went back to the house. When Dee showed up, I wasn't in the house, but was somehow able to recall what Dee had done without my mother ever telling me. My mother also told me she didn't tell Dee anything about what I had just said, and that I had just mentioned there was something here. Since I was sick, my grandma kept a close eye on me all night. My grandma doesn't really believe in ghosts, but when I talked to her, she said it was a strange night. I was having trouble sleeping and had a high fever, but then it just stopped. Like one moment, all of my symptoms went away. I went to bed, and that's when I remember waking up. And as I shared this story with you, now, I'm a 21-year-old senior in college. Every so often, I think back to these events, and I'm just confused. I have no answers. I try to come up with my own conclusion, but I could never think of a rational one. I have a hypothesis for what happened, but I won't share that with you now. I want you to come to your own conclusion. Maybe someone else has gone through the same type of thing. That was the point of sharing this. I'm hoping someday someone will hear this and be able to help me. It would be easy to say I was possessed or something, but it seems too unreal. If the memories I have weren't so vivid, it would be hard for me to believe this story. I mean, hell, it's hard to believe with the memories I have. But I can assure you this happened. Thanks for joining me on this eerie adventure. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay curious, keep exploring, and I'll catch you in the next spooky exploration. Until then, stay weird.